And today's judges, we have two representatives from the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Fong Kok Choi and Ms. Rohini Singh. And from the Debate Association, we have an EXCO member with us, Mr. Samuel Myat-san. All right, so we are simulating Singapore's parliament today. We have 4 different houses, and each side will represent their own interest, and try to win you over to their specific niche. And I'll go through a few of the rules. 30 seconds in and 4 minutes, 30 seconds in, I'll ring this bell once. During this period, teams are allowed to offer points of information to the opposing side. So if a proposition speaker is speaking, then the opposition can offer a point of information during this period. And if the opposition is speaking, then the proposition can offer points of information during this period. At 5 minutes, I'll ring this twice. And that will signal that you should wrap up your speech pretty soon, because all our speakers are given 5 minutes. And at 5 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll ring this incessantly, which I won't demonstrate, because it'll be really annoying, and it's just to tell you that your time's up and you really need to stop. Let's start with Roy Chen of Hwa Chong Institution, who will open the case for the proposition.
Now, the Singapore government expects the population of Singapore to increase from the current 4.5 million to a future population of 6.5 million. On the one hand, a larger workforce would mean that we are better able to sustain economic growth. However, on the other, a larger population could also mean greater challenges for the Singapore government to grapple with, such as traffic congestion, which is the result of an increase in vehicles population hitting the roads of Singapore, particularly during peak hours. Thus, it is necessary for the government to regulate car ownership and car usage, because we want to minimize congestion, and on the other hand, we also want to maximize the benefits of a larger workforce. So our policy today is a pragmatic one, because we recognize that congestion hurts everyone, not one sector or 2 sectors of the economy, but everyone who works and lives in Singapore. And the government is implementing this policy for the greater good of the economy. Or else, if we don't, we will face problems such as economic slowdown, lower worker productivity, and fuel wastage. And so under our policy today, we are going to decrease vehicle ownership charges. And so under the current COE system, the current COE system employed by the government allows for a 3% increase in motor vehicle population each year. Under our policy, we are going to change this. We will increase the number of vehicles that will be allowed to hit the roads of Singapore from 3% a year to 4% a year. Allow me now to concretize this in terms of real numbers. No, thank you, sir. 125,000 cars to hit the roads between May 2008 to April 2009 under our 4% rate of increase instead of the 115,000 initially planned for under the 3% rate of increase. And we see that there will be a natural fall in COE prices because now the supply of COEs has increased relative to the demand for it. The second part of our policy will involve increasing vehicle usage charges. Now, the main method used by the government to do this is the ERP system. And the ERP system is reviewed on a quarterly basis by the Land Transport Authority. And the LTA during these quarterly reviews employs the 85th percentile speed measurement method, which assures motorists that they are able to enjoy smooth traffic on the roads with ERP gantries 85% of the time. This is opposed to the arithmetic mean or the 50th percentile speed measurement method, which only works 50% of the time. And so using this method, what we'll do is that we'll adjust ERP rates on expressways and arterial roads to fall within a range of 65 km per hour to 45 km per hour and 45 km per hour to 25 km per hour respectively. And so our policy would require that the government adheres to this system. What we're going to do is that we foresee that the motor vehicle population is expected to increase. And as such, average speeds on roads, particularly during peak hours, would also fall. Naturally, ERP rates will increase to reflect the severity of this congestion. Finally, before I move on to my substantive, let me first clarify that our policy today is not mutually exclusive with the redistribution of revenue derived from the above-mentioned measures to, for example, to the poor in society, for the purpose of road maintenance, or for the purpose of improving our public transport system. So today, I, as the first speaker, will be telling you about keeping a balance between vehicle ownership and vehicle usage. My second speaker will be telling you about achieving an equitable tax structure. Moving on to my substantive on maintaining a balanced equation. Now, the Ministry of Finance recognizes that it is time to realize that the car-owning aspiration of the middle-class Singaporean should not be curtailed, given that it's regulated properly and given that it does not worsen congestion. And we recognize also that a reasonable level of car ownership, which brings along with it certain benefits such as convenience and efficiency, balanced with smooth, efficient traffic on our roads, could serve as a multiplier on Singapore's economic growth. This could help to increase productivity and efficiency of both our workers and the economy at large. And therefore, under our policy today, we have decided to make it less prohibitively expensive for Singaporeans to purchase a vehicle. However, in exchange, the Ministry of Finance could also need to increase vehicle usage charges for two main reasons. Firstly, to alleviate the potential problem of congestion which could be brought about when you have increased number of cars running on the roads of Singapore. The second reason why we would do so is because as the Ministry of Finance, we need to balance our budget. And we need to balance our budget by making up for government revenue that has been lost through the lowering of vehicle ownership charges.
Yeah, sir.
No, thank you, sir. And in this case, we see that congestion, if it's not regulated properly, could negate the economic benefits that I raised earlier. For example, in Texas in 2005, congestion was not regulated properly, and as a result, it cost the good state of Texas a whopping sum of $78.2 billion. And without this policy that we have suggested today, congestion will choke up the roads, and congestion will harm the economic growth of Singapore. And therefore, we tell you today that it's necessary to adopt this policy to allow for reasonable car ownership without compromising on the efficiency of our future growth in Singapore. Thank you.
Let's listen to Vijay from Meridian JC to begin the attack from the opposition.
Ladies and gentlemen, now before I move on to my team's main policy today, and my main arguments, which are two. Firstly, that the motion is not sustainable in the long run, and secondly, that it hurts the interests of the companies that we're representing today, the logistics, transport, and delivery companies. Now, first, I would like to challenge what the proposition's claims today. What they have told us is that they aim to regulate car ownership by increasing the number of cars on the roads. They stated that they're going to increase the cars on the road yearly to 4%. And they've told us that they're going to increase vehicle usage charges. But we feel, and as I'll talk about this later in my substantive, that this is a very unbalanced policy. And instead, no thank you, ma'am, what we feel is an effective anti-congestion policy will require the control of both ownership and usage charges. Now, by decreasing the vehicle, no thank you, sir, by decreasing the vehicle ownership charge, what this does is put more cars on the road. And this will not solve the problem of congestion. And again, you're also hurting the consumers who purchase the cars by increasing the vehicle usage charge. What this does is that there'll be less cars on the roads. People are now deterred, and the ERP creates a disincentive. No, thank you, sir. It creates a disincentive for them, and it will turn out to be a high cost. The high cost of buying a car would turn out to be a cost that a consumer is unable to utilize fully. And now I'll move on to my team's case for today. No, thank you, ma'am. Our policy is simply put, is to leave the vehicle ownership charge and vehicle usage charge at the level that it already is. And our rationale is for two prongs. Firstly, for vehicle ownership, by keeping it at the current level, you reduce the increase of cars on the road. And by lowering it, consumers may be more inclined to purchase a car, thus increasing the number of cars on the road far more quickly. And this would definitely worsen the problem of congestion more. No, thank you, sir. Secondly, for vehicle usage charges, we feel that the charges that will be done by the Finance Ministry are a blunt instrument, and what we propose are alternatives that would be far sharper in curbing the problem of congestion, such as the reintroduction of carpooling in Singapore. And I have two main points. Firstly, in how the motion is not sustainable in the long run, and secondly, how it hurts the interests of our companies. Now, I tell you that, as I stated earlier, for an anti-congestion policy to be effective, it needs both ownership and usage charges to be controlled. And this is because of the geographical and spatial constraints in Singapore. As with more cars on the road, the government would find it very difficult to continue building roads, and a high car population density would definitely worsen the problem of congestion. And with the proposition today suggesting, no thank you, sir, lowering these ownership charges, it will not curb the problem of growth of the car population, and instead, as I stated, it will worsen the problem of congestion. And this will affect our companies, no thank you, ma'am, in an adverse way, as it reduces our efficiency, as it will take longer time for us to drive and deliver our goods. No thank you, sir, and this will definitely cause us to lose business as well. And secondly, it hurts the interests of the companies that we represent, the transport, delivery, and logistics companies. And we feel that the motion today is not a solution for our companies. Firstly, if our drivers try to avoid the ERP gantries and charges, this will result in longer journeys. No, thank you, sir. And it would result in a lack of efficiency from our companies. And now and due to the higher costs incurred of the high charges, we will be forced to cut down our journeys, and this would affect our business as well. No, thank you, sir. And if we go through the gantries, what this will lead to is recurrent costs on our company that will affect us in the long run. And no, thank you, ma'am. Furthermore, this policy does not suit the current economic climate, and with the economy already in dire straits, increasing vehicle usage charges, no thank you, sir, will definitely not help at all. This is because us as logistics and delivery companies, we will lose business from companies who are now looking to reduce their costs significantly. And secondly, this could drive the smaller transport and delivery companies out of business in the long run, and this is definitely not a good thing in the current climate. So therefore, what have I told you? I've told you that the motion today is not sustainable in the long run and would adversely affect the interests of our companies and would not allow us to function smoothly during the economic downturn. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay.